The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 660. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is the co-founder of East Meets Dress, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Vivian Chan. Vivian, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show, Sheena. So as Sheena mentioned, I'm the co-founder of East Meets Dress. We're an e-commerce brand that's looking to reinvent the cheongsam dress for modern women and help elevate Asian American culture. Prior to this, I was working at an early stage startup that was acquired, and then prior to that, I was working in nonprofits, so Girls Who Code and Teach for America. I graduated from Yale, where I met my best friend and now co-founder of East Meets Dress. So this has been an amazing journey so far, starting my own company, and I'm really excited to share with you all and Sheena more about how I developed self-confidence and how I ended up where I am.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, that's great what you guys are doing. I think it's great to create that visibility out there and, in a great and fashionable way. So thanks for sharing that. And Vivian, what's your cultural background?
Yeah, so I'm a first generation Chinese American. I was born in Hawaii and then grew up in Vegas. So very random and unique places. Both of my parents are originally from Hong Kong, so I grew up actually speaking Cantonese at home, and my mom likes to call me an ABC. I'm sure many other Asian Americans out there can relate, but it stands for American Born Chinese. So growing up, I always felt like I had to balance between two different worlds, two different cultures. And when I was young, I wanted to just blend in as much as possible with American culture. And it really wasn't until I was older that I started to embrace and be proud of my Chinese heritage. And I ended up living in China for a year and several summers after graduating from college, doing a Fulbright fellowship. And now, most obviously, I started a company that's centered around Asian American culture and fashion.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that's something as, Chinese living in the States or Canada, we all go through it, right? Especially wanting to blend in, especially when you were younger, you're like the token Asian kid in school. It's not always easy to assimilate with the Canadian or North American culture, and then at home you still got to follow Chinese culture, right? So it can be quite a challenge for people out there who've been through that as well. So thanks for sharing that. And Vivian, what's your favorite self-confidence quote?
I really like this quote that goes everything was impossible until someone did it. I think it's actually a variation of Nelson Mandela's quote, but I think it really strikes to the fact that I think a lot of times we tend to hold ourselves back, just thinking, an idea you have, a dream you have just seems so crazy and so out there. You don't think that it's actually possible to achieve. And you might even have skeptics out there being like, that's a crazy idea. That's not possible. And so this is a great quote that keeps me motivated and reminds me that so many of the things we enjoy now, even thinking of all the technology we have, iPhones and such, all of these ideas were crazy at one point and seemingly impossible until someone just did it and made it happen. And so I really, really like this quote, and it really inspires me and makes me feel confident that I can do anything that I set my mind to.
Thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
My definition of self-confidence is the belief that your success and your life is within your power and your control. So I really believe that you are the author of your own destiny, and everything you want to accomplish in your life, your dreams, your goals, you can do it, and it's within your power and your control. You just need to believe in yourself, work hard, and make it happen. And so that's my definition of self-confidence.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. It's so true, right? If you want something, it's up to you to go out there and do it, take action, right? And I know sometimes it's scary, but once you do it, you'll feel a lot better. So thanks for sharing that great definition. And Vivian, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
So I would center it around like the journey that I took to start my own company. Before I started East Meets Stress, I've always had this urge to do my own thing. But in the back of my mind, I was always afraid of putting myself out there, of really taking the leap and going all in on what seems like a crazy idea. I thought starting your own company was for people who had a lot of money or had a lot of experience, had really unique skill sets, large networks, etc. So this was something I always put off and marked as, I'll do this later, when I'm more established in my career, when I've gained more experience. But I really started to realize that nothing really prepares you for starting your own thing than actually just doing it. And I also thought that I had to have the perfect idea and the perfect solution first before I did anything on my own. And you also come to realize that there is no perfect idea out there. There's no perfect solution. It's something you innovate and iterate on over time. And I began to realize, I was placing all of these internal restrictions on myself, actually. So that was kind of my story in my life, what I was going through before discovering that I had this self-confidence to do my own thing.
Thanks for sharing that. And, it's crazy how we overthink everything and feel like everything has to be perfect before we start something, right? Not realizing like most successful people just did it and made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm still making mistakes every day and learning.
Exactly. Just course correcting, right? And, if we just hear more stories of that, I think people would feel better and better knowing that not everyone has it all figured out, but everyone has the capacity to figure it out along the way. And, what was that point in your life when you realized, you just went out there and did it, right? What was that aha moment?
So I started getting more restless with myself, with my career, and I began to realize, that if I'm not building my own dream, then I'm just busy building someone else's. And one day, I kind of just looked around me and started reflecting, and I see all these restaurants, grocery stores, small businesses owned by immigrants all around me. And I thought to myself that, well, if they could do it with as many barriers as they've had to overcome, then I could too. And I'm actually really lucky enough to have an education, not have language barriers. So why am I holding myself back instead of taking a risk? And I think, as women, there's a tendency to be a bit more risk averse when it comes to these things. And I know myself, I appreciate certainty and stability in my life. And so when I was at Girls Who Code, my previous nonprofit I worked at, actually, our founder would always tell us that we need to teach girls to be brave and not perfect. And I thought back to my mom and her journey, and she moved to Las Vegas all by herself after divorcing my father with only a couple $100s in her pockets to start a brand new life and raise me by herself. And, if she had the self-confidence to do something like this, my mom, I could follow in her footsteps and do the same too. And she's always taught me that if I'm just willing to work harder than everyone else and have relentless persistence, then I can make it too. And so the combination of these reflections and just these things were my aha moments. And that really helped me develop the self-confidence to really take the leap.
Thanks for sharing that. It's crazy what, our parents have been through and the sacrifices they make. And like you mentioning, like, if some people have certain challenges, but they did it anyway, then we have the capacity to go out there and do it too. I mean, I've interviewed women who were born with no legs, born with no arms, but yet they can make a difference, right? It never really stopped them from doing what they love. And I think when we can realize that we are more powerful than we realize, and we have what it takes to go out there and create that dream life, like anything is truly possible. And, because of those realizations, what's your life been like now?
I would say, after the aha moments, I realize, there's no better time than now to start my own company. And what's the worst that can happen? If I fail, I would have learned very valuable lessons. I can always get back up and try again. I would say, though, that just because I took the risk to start EMD with my best friend co-founder, life isn't all rosy and perfect after developing this self-confidence and realization. There are now I have like a whole new set of challenges and obstacles that I face daily, but it definitely feels like a part of me has been freed in a sense, and I'm really pursuing something now that brings me meaning and happiness, and I'm no longer in this state of suspension that I used to be in. Starting your own company is very exhausting, just to be real, but it's definitely one of the most exhilarating things that I've done in my life, and I'm just so glad, I had that realization and I took that leap.
Thanks for sharing that. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What'd be that one tip you would give to her?
I would say, if you're thinking about doing something but haven't yet and you're afraid for some reason, just ask yourself, why not me? And so what if I fail? I promise you that it definitely won't be the end of the world. And a more tactical advice I have is, when you first start doing anything new, it's definitely scary, but consistency and persistence is important. And when you do something over and over again until you feel comfortable doing it and you get better at it, that actually leads to self-confidence. And then, for those women out there listening who are interested in doing your own business or even side hustle, I would say now it's easier than ever to do so with the vast amount of resources and tools you can find online and the communities out there that you can find who can support you. You actually don't even need a lot of money to get started. We're entirely bootstrapped and haven't raised outside funding, and it's actually made us very disciplined with our product and customer experience. So, just ask yourself, why not me? Why not now? And just go do it.
Thanks for sharing that great tip. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do and check out some of your dresses, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, you can feel free to check out eastmeetsdress.com. Our social media handle is just at eastmeetsdress. So I would say that's where you can find more about our company and our dresses and also about myself.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Vivian, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Vivian's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Vivian today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Vivian.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Want to learn how you can use podcasting to market your business? Download your free report by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.